Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Zamora 2-Player Podcast. I have a very special Sidequest episode planned for today. I'm actually joined today by Brad Ellis, member of Easy Allies, of which I have mentioned, I'm pretty sure, a few times on this podcast. My brother and I's podcast took big inspiration from Easy Allies. So it's really cool to have you here, Brad. Back in the game trailers days, reviewing games there, reviewing at Easy Allies. You're the host of Frame Trap on Easy Allies, which is a definite sort of the format my brother and I have sort of kind of adapted for this podcast of just deep diving into the games that we're playing lately or that we're passionate about. And you were part of that legendary FF7 original reveal on the GT Live stream video.
Yeah, that's right.
One of which I will regularly go back and watch when I just need that dopamine hit of the pure hype. So Brad, welcome to the podcast. Really appreciate having you here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Garrett. My pleasure to be here, dude.
So we could talk. We could probably fill an entire podcast about talking about Zelda, Persona 5, and FromSoft games, because I share a lot of the passion that you do in those series. But for real, we are here because the FF7 hype train is running at full speed right now. And I know you are a resident FF7 connoisseur, and so we're going to talk about that. But before we get into that stuff, I do want to just talk for people that maybe don't know you. I want to just talk a little bit about how you got into the industry. I found your first review at Easy Allies, I think, was Overwatch. If I'm not mistaken.
That was my first review. Yep.
I did not have a way to find your first review at Game Trailers. I have no idea how to start. Do you remember what it is?
I didn't review.
Oh, you didn't review there?
No.
You were interning, were you?
Yeah, I was like technically a PA for that.
Ah, okay.
So I wasn't interning. I got paid and stuff like that, but
was Huber an intern?
No, Huber was an intern at a point. Then he became.
Maybe that's what I'm getting mixed
later
up in
on.
my head.
Yeah.
Okay. So your first official review then was at Easy Allies with Overwatch. Yeah. So Game Trailers was like my daily check-in back in the day. That was like my one-stop shop. I refuse to listen to any reviews that are not voiced by Brandon Jones. He is like the voice of my review, my game reviews growing up, essentially, which is crazy. So how did you get started initially at Game Trailers? Like, what was the in there?
So, for people that don't know, I was a hairstylist for several years before I got into games. Mike Huber, who if you know Easy Allies, you know Mike, he was working at G4 at the time. He's interning. And I think his internship or whatever was running out, and Game Trailers was having an event in LA. Like, I think it was called GT Film Fest, I think.
Okay.
So like everyone was there, like Brandon Jones and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, yo, Mike, you should totally go to this thing to try to schmooze and get in with all of them. Because
sure.
I knew Game Trailers because I also watched Game Trailers. Mike didn't really watch as much at the time, so he didn't really know all of them. So I remember I had the day off when it was going on. So I went to the event and waited in line for Mike to get Mike in there. And eventually Mike was able to come after he was done with work. And then we got in there. We talked to a bunch of all of them. Then Mike got hooked up eventually. So then he started interning there. And when I was a hairstylist, there was a day I remember, it was probably around E3 or something like that. I was, working or whatever. And I was getting really hyped about games. And I was talking to like my coworkers. And most of them didn't really care about games.
Sure.
I was like, okay, cool. I was like, dude. I was like, I need to talk about games with someone or something like that. So I reached out to Mike and I was like, hey, Mike, if they have any openings for whatever position at Game Trailers, let them know. I'm super interested. I'm down for anything like that. So That went on for months and months and months of Mike he's slowly poking away at Brandon
Sure.
to get me in there. And Brandon finally relented and brought me in as a PA. And that's kind of how it started.
Okay. That's really funny. I actually didn't know that. And we were just talking before I started recording how that's like was my issue as to why we started this podcast with my brothers. Because people I work with, I'm just like, God, I just need someone that I could talk to games about, you know? So that's really funny. And I always had,
oh, go ahead.
No, go for it. Go.
I was going to say, I mean, I've always had Mike, me and Mike have known each other since we were in first grade. So
yeah,
I've always had someone to talk games with, but I think I was just kind of running away from like the passion of it. I was like, dude, I need to do games. I like, it like finally clicked with me kind of thing. I need to do something with this. So
yeah. Well, and it's funny that you mentioned the like hairstyling, because one of my questions is, what is that through line that leads you from hairstyling to game journalism, which you kind of answered. And I had a theory that it in some way had to do with Final Fantasy hair, but I don't know if that is anything. If there's any connection there. So with when it comes, so now that you're at Easy Allies, obviously once GT, you know, that I think people kind of know that story. And moving on to Easy Allies and start reviewing. I'm always curious, like, what is like your general process for when it comes to writing a review? Is it more of like marathon session, take writing breaks, or is it kind of like, I know you probably take notes as you go, but is it like a lot more back and forth, or do you find you do like bigger chunks of each one to like sort of take a break of the other?
Every review I do, I feel like the writing process is different kind of thing. I don't have like, my most thing is like, I think about like structure wise is I'm going to write my review today, or a lot of the review. I can write a paragraph maybe, then, I just can't think of anything to write. So I have to take breaks. Sometimes there's been a couple times where I've like sat down and wrote an entire review in one go.
Oh, wow.
But usually I like to take breaks. I like to, if I have, depending how much time I have to do the review, if I have like a couple days to do it, I'm really happy about that. So I could really like look over everything I do again like that, feel really comfortable with what I'm writing. So I wouldn't say there's like I have a method or anything like that. Just kind of happens.
And I guess it kind of really depends, because unlike something like, let's say, a movie review, it's like one game could be 10 hours and one game is 100 hours. So that process has to be a little more dynamic, I guess, depending on how big of a chunk, you got to take out of that game before you can start writing.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, is like, what is like the hardest review you remember getting through? Not necessarily writing, but just like whether it's like just finishing that game to be able to develop an opinion on it. If you can think of any.
Anytime I play like I remember Returnal, I didn't have a lot of time, and I was like, this game's pretty hard. I was like, I hope I can beat this game in time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Elden Ring also, I was like, oh, dude, I hope I have enough time to get through all this kind of stuff. I usually think about that with like, because I'm the one who usually does Souls-likes at work for reviews.
Yep.
So or like harder games, I feel like a lot of times.
Sure.
I'm always like, I hope I can just make it through this game usually in time.
And usually if you're doing reviews like before, like with embargo timings and stuff, it's like you can't just look up a guide for stuff necessarily the way you
can't look at anything. Yeah. If you're stuck, tough luck kind of thing. You just gotta figure it out.
Yeah. I can't imagine. So I actually finally got around to Elden Ring this year. It took me forever to get to it, and my last interview guest, actually, we talked about Elden Ring for like a good 2 hours, and I can't imagine beating that on a time limit like that. Like that is a big game to get through.
It is a big game.
I can imagine the stress, especially when it's a game that you're passionate about too, like a game you like, because you want to do it justice too, right? I assume as well.
It's it can be stressful, I guess, but I also kind of enjoy it in the sense that there's no outside noise about this game. There's nothing I can look up. There's nothing like that for me. It's just me like alone with this game, like a very isolated kind of thing. And I do appreciate that sometimes.
Yeah. Free of all the noise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes you're like, okay, I gotta beat this game, essentially.
Yeah. Returnal was when I beat late last year, and it was when I had to come back 2 months later to actually like just break through and tough it out, kind of just power through that game to finally get to the end. So yeah, God, those 2 games in and of themselves, that sounds like a lot to have on your plate. Does it? I always wonder this too. Like, does it make it harder to enjoy a game, especially one that you're like really looking forward to, really passionate, when you have to kind of be in that constant sort of analytical, like mindset while you're playing? Like, do you find that takes away from it, or maybe based on what you just said, like maybe it actually makes you get like way more invested and into it because you're so isolated around all the noise?
I don't think it really takes anything away from it, because I think when I'm playing a game for review, when I'm playing it normally, I kind of think the same the whole
Okay.
time.
Okay.
So my mind process usually doesn't work, I guess, on that. The only thing with review is I have to maybe play longer segments than I usually would or something.
Sure.
Like if I'm playing a game casually, I might take a lot more breaks or something,
Right.
or like play for an hour or two, then like take some time off, kind of thing.
Sure.
I mean, I do that in review, but sometimes with reviews, I've had to be like, okay, I'm going to play 8 hours today or so on, something
Right.
like that.
When it's like your job, yeah, you have to treat it that way for sure to do it justice. So that makes sense. So like I said, we could talk about those other games all day, I'm sure, but we are here definitely for Final Fantasy today, and to give you an idea of why my brother and I, we obsess over this series and 7 specifically. Literally, as I started recording, my brother doesn't know I'm recording right now. I got a random text that says, "Dude, what if the hooded guy in the Rebirth trailer is Glenn from First Soldier?" Just out of nowhere. So, it's like, it's something that's always on our minds. He literally just texted me that like 5 minutes ago.
That's awesome.
So we'll start with, my brother and I have talked about our history with Final Fantasy. 6 was like our first one. I think we found it. I think we rented it and then ended up either renting it more than once to beat it. And then eventually, I think we got it at like a yard sale or something eventually. And then that was like our intro to the series. And then my brother actually bought FF7 before we had a PlayStation. Because we were so hyped about it with all the coverage. Because I think it came out it wasn't quite a year before it came out over here in Japan.
I don't know if it was a whole year,
but it was a chunk of time. I feel like, the games took longer to localize back then.
Back then, yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we were, reading all the magazines and all that stuff. So he definitely bought the game before we had a PlayStation. So what was 7? I don't know if 7 was your intro to Final Fantasy or if you started in the SNES.
No, my intro to the series was actually Final Fantasy 1 on the NES.
Oh, wow.
One of my neighbors had it. Okay. And I borrowed it and played it. It was very tough for me when I was very little.
That would still be tough. That original version of that game would still be tough.
So I played some of that. I never beat it. I played some of 6 also at that time. Like I rented it. I never owned it, but I never beat it when I was younger either, but I played some of that. Then I missed 4. I didn't even know 4 existed, or 2 here pretty much. Like I didn't even know about it. Then we got 7, and that's when I finally fully delved into it, I guess.
That's the one that got its hooks into you.
Yeah. I think maybe because I was younger at the time when I played 1, obviously, and 6. I was maybe a little young. I was 10 when 7 came out, so I was able to understand it more.
Yes. Yeah, I think so it's kind of a funny story for me where I don't know why I knew about Final Fantasy, but when 6 was the one that was current, or 3 for us back then, it's like I really wanted to play this game. I don't remember what was the thing that made me want to play it, but I knew it was like a turn-based game, and I hadn't really played anything like that before. So I rented Mario RPG at one point to I'll use this game to learn how turn-based games go. And then I got super obsessed with that game, and that's a whole other story. But yeah, I remember getting Mario RPG to train myself And then I found Chrono Trigger after that, and all the SNES
Oh
RPG
yeah.
era of that golden age of RPGs.
Mm-hmm.
So like, when I was thinking about FF7 like OG, like there's just some memories that always come back to me. One of which is my brother buying the game before we even had a PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we had when we first got it, or when we first played it, because I think we played it at my cousin's house, and then that's what made us want to like buy it ourselves. I genuinely thought that the entire game was going to be just blowing up each reactor, and that was the game. Like that was going to be, and then the Shinra building or whatever was like the final dungeon or whatever. So I just remember that like feeling of when you like get out of Midgar. And I know this is a conversation that's kind of resurfacing with the feeling of going into Rebirth, right? Of like, oh, like it's that same kind of feeling where it's like, wow, this world is much bigger than what we knew. And at the time, especially, as soon as we got out of those doors, I was like, what, the game's not over? Like it's like, we're moving into the big world. And that's like one of those things. We played the entirety of that game on like, we had little 13-inch TVs in our rooms, and like that's like how I experienced pretty much all of FF7 for the first time was on that tiny ass little TV. We would make save files specifically before every FMV that would play, so we could like load the save and like go and rewatch it or whatever.
Yeah, I remember doing stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely. Those were so sick back in the day.
Yeah. I just remember, I think, because the first one you really see outside of the opening is the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Where it's not that like hybrid, like, where they have the little models, but they're smoother and animated. I think the motorcycle is the first where they're like the full character model.
Yeah,
like
I think
renders or whatever. And
yeah,
I'm pretty sure we like did that part and we're like, 1 second, and like reloaded that save again. Let's just save this for later, and like just saved it at a lower thing. And then every time we would get to an FMV, we would just like reload that save, make a copy. Like, all right, we're safe.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I don't know. I spent so many hours in the area in the northern crater with because we had, I don't know if you remember the like W item glitch where you could like duplicate.
Yeah.
You just
I didn't know about that till way later in my life.
Okay. It must have been in a magazine or something that we read. And so it was just like hours and hours farming those magic pots because I gave like a shitload of AP and everything. Because we're trying to get the master materia and trying to do all of that stuff. So whenever I revisit that game, the second I hear that music that plays when you enter like that part of the northern crater, it's just like the biggest nostalgia wave because it feels like it was weeks I spent, both of us spent just going back and forth in there. And then more recently, because I know you did this with the PS4 port, I think you went back and did like the platinum trophy for it. I remembered when I was doing that, I felt so bad because one of the trophies is you have to get the Barrett, the date with Barrett and the gold saucer. And to do that, you got to be kind of a dick to Tifa and Aerith up until that point. And I just remember doing that, and I was like, this isn't canon. This isn't really what's happening. I'm just doing it for the trophy.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
I don't know if you have just like very like vivid memories of 7 yourself, since that was the first one. If there's any that just sort of bubble to the surface when you think of that game.
Sure. I mean, I remember seeing, so growing up, there was a Japanese market kind of near us called Yaohan.
Okay.
And this was before the game was out here, and they had a bunch of import stuff. And I remember seeing like a poster of Cloud or something like that, and just being like, whoa, what is this? And I was like, Final Fantasy 7? And I was like, wait, there's 7 of them?
True, yeah, that's right. That's when a lot of us were very confused at the sequence.
Yeah, and I just remember thinking it looked awesome, the design of it. Then eventually, commercials and stuff started rolling out, and the marketing campaign was enormous for that game. It was like unreal for a game at that time, how much that game was marketed. It was insane.
Yep.
And of course, I remember just seeing this, like the CG trailers and all that stuff like that, and just being blown away at the way that game looks. I got a PlayStation like pretty much right when that game came out, I think. Like
Okay.
that was the game that made me buy a PlayStation.
Yep.
Remember playing it a lot, and my friend growing up, he was into it, and so was his brother. And I remember us just like doing the stuff like the chocobo racing and all that stuff, hoping you get the right chocobo
Oh my
when you breed
god.
them and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and trying to beat the weapons or whatever and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like figuring out crazy materia combinations and not getting the, not knowing the spoilers, I guess, at the
Yeah.
time. Which is the biggest spoiler of all time in gaming, I would
Yeah, yeah.
say. It's
I'm gonna say full
yeah,
FF7 spoilers are on the table.
yeah,
We
it's
all
like
know what happens at the end of Disc 1.
yeah.
I unfortunately did have that spoiled. However,
Ooh.
it was like when it just came out in Japan, so I didn't really like know what I was looking at and who these characters were. I thought
Mhm.
Sephiroth was like, is that Setzer from 6? Because he's got like the long white
Yeah,
hair or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
I was like,
definitely.
why has he got a sword now? Like, when I was also, I'm born in 86, so I would have been 11 when that game came out.
Mhm.
So, I don't know how to like follow. We didn't know these games weren't necessarily like sequential, right?
Right.
So it was just like, why is Setzer killing that girl?
Yeah, yeah. Lots of
um,
mystery back then,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. And then obviously that is like that was probably one of the most like the emotional video game like narrative moment when Aerith dies.
Mhm.
Uh that I would compare other games like emotional like big payoff moments. I would like compare other games to that. I'm like, well, it didn't hurt me as much as that game did.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was just like it was like my barometer for like how well a
Yeah.
game would set up those emotional moments.
Yeah, it was like I had never experienced something like that, I guess, in a game at that time. I know there was some like heavy stuff in games back then, but personally I didn't
Yeah,
just get to them
same.
till
Yeah,
much
that
later.
was like
So
the first one that just hit like the
yeah, I was
hardest.
shocked.
Yeah, God, not looking forward to that moment. I'm just gonna say it. I'm not looking forward to
Yeah,
that.
we'll see.
I booked time off for Rebirth, and is I have to make sure I get to that point in the game, if that indeed happens, well before I go back to work, because I will be a wreck for a few
Okay. Well,
days.
they have said where the game ends,
Yeah,
so
so we know
it's
it's
out there
coming.
if you're curious. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been reading all the TGS stuff, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I know what to expect, and it's not going to hurt any less.
I know. It's gonna be hard.
So another thing that was really cool for as we would do like subsequent playthroughs of OG7 was,
Mhm.
and my brother and I have talked about this on the podcast before, but there was like it was like a grocery store chain here. I think it was put on by like General Mills. I don't know if that's only a Canadian thing. I don't know if it's an
Mhm.
okay, but where it was a tournament playing Star Fox 64, and the
No.
grand prize of that was a 50-inch RCA like backlit TV.
Wow.
And I actually ended up winning that TV at
Oh,
this
wow.
thing. So, and I was like, 11 or 12 or
Mhm.
something. And it was like, no, that's my TV. The games are going on this TV. And so we were used to playing FF7 on these little 13-inch TVs for, over a year probably.
Yeah.
And then when we got that TV home, I think that was like it was GoldenEye and FF7 were like the first two games we like
Ooh.
booted up
Oh,
on
yeah.
that on that TV.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, man, that as like a 12-year-old, like getting to play FF7 on that big TV, that was in
Mhm.
heaven.
Yeah, that's something special.
I was spoiled with all the Star Fox hours of play I did paid off big time when it came to that tournament. So anyway, yeah, that was what that really leveled up our like FF7 sort of experience.
Mhm.
Um, and then fast forward a little bit to when Advent Children is a known quantity, and
Mhm.
the footage of that what that looks like comes out. I was in college when that movie came out in Japan.
Mhm.
I feel like there was a delay for it coming here, and I just remember me and my roommate found like a Japanese copy of that movie online, no subtitles, and obviously just Japanese voiceover, I still watched that movie probably like 6 times, like in like a very short period, without knowing what anyone is saying. You know, just trying to
do that with stuff too. Yeah, absolutely.
And we were like, so we had to take like a language credit in my first year at university, or maybe it was second year, but I took like intro Japanese just because I like video games and anime, and you know, I was like, yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Not easy that I found out, obviously. But I remember like we asked our professor, like, can you watch this movie and tell us what they're saying? And she was like some like 50-year-old Japanese woman. She's like,
that's funny.
And she was like, no. I was like, oh, come on. So I think eventually we found like a fan translated like subtitles file that you could load into VLC player or something. So it gave like a somewhat of an idea of what they were saying. But yeah, we were just like, I could not wait any longer to like watch that movie. So we just like did it. I don't think that one went in theaters.
No, I don't think so.
No, I think they learned their lesson from Spirits Within, unfortunately.
Probably.
So yeah, that was the only way that I was able to watch that. But and then like they did the eventual like re-release, like director's cut, which was like way more brutal, like, you know, like
blood and stuff. Yeah,
got like the Blu-ray for that. You know, anytime I do a replay of OG7, I'll cap it off by like, I'm gonna watch Advent Children after, just as like to like to sunset that playthrough kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so fast forward again to, I don't know if you had specific memories about Advent Children that.
Advent Children, I just remember watching it with Mike Huber together on his computer, because it was also not out yet.
Sure, yeah.
Together, I can't recall if it had subtitles or not though. But I just remember it wasn't out yet officially.
Right.
And we loved it because it's just chaos and craziness.
Just like the over the top, you know, like, and this like, it's such like an anime moment that I love at the end when these like clouds, he's jumping up and all his friends are like throwing him farther. It's like none of this makes any sense and I don't care. You know? It's just a feel good moment. And so, you know, once we get to Final Fantasy VII Remake, talking about Advent Children, there's like a moment for me, and I wonder if you have a kind of similar moment when you were playing that game for the first time, where, so it's the cut, and I've talked about this before, but it's the cutscene when you're dealing with Roche. I think that's how you say his name. That's how I say it anyway. When you after the bike sequence and you fight him in that like, you know, warehouse yard or whatever, there was like a moment when that cutscene was playing, because like the music is like so perfectly scored for the cutscene that's happening while he's giving like his little like villain monologue or whatever. And there's just like a moment where I just like had to take a second and be like, holy shit, this is a video game I'm playing right now. Because it gave me like Advent Children vibes, especially when they're fighting on the bikes like a little earlier. And it just like, it really sunk in during like that cutscene. I think the music was a big part of why it just hit me like a film would. And it was just like, I had to like just take a moment. And I also been playing like, so for us where I live in the time zone I live, when a game releases like at, you know, midnight or whatever, like if I buy it digitally, it unlocks at like 1 a.m. on my time. So the night before, I literally went to bed at like 8 o'clock or like 8 p.m. I was like, I'm just going to get as much sleep as I can, because as soon as that game is unlocked, I'm not sleeping. And I think I woke up at like 2 or 2:30 and I was like, all right, here we go. It starts. And so I had gotten like to that part in, you know, this first sort of play session. So, you know, I was also like a little loopy because I was on very little sleep. But it just like hit me the right way where I was like, because I was literally thinking Advent Children. I was like, this looks better and is cooler than Advent Children, like these cutscenes.
Yeah, man.
And it just like, that was the moment for me where I just like, and not that I didn't love the game before, but it just like, it really got its hooks in me, for just how like like to set up like, man, this is what this game is gonna be, because I'm like, that's like 4
Mhm.
hours in or something. Like, it's not far.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, this is what this game is gonna be. Like, fuck yeah, I am ready
Yeah.
to see all of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I remember.
I'm curious what that like sort of what that
Sure,
moment for
yeah.
you may have been.
My time playing the game was a little not like most people, I guess, because I played it early and stuff
Yeah,
like
you
that before
reviewed
it
it
was
for
out.
Easy
Yeah.
Allies, yeah.
Honestly, the first time I saw the game in action was at E3, and it was like a
Mhm.
little theater demo with Katase was there
Yeah,
during it,
I've
and I was like
heard, yeah.
sitting next to him, and he was like just showing off the game, and I was like blown away at like the characterization of the characters and like how they're acting and their mannerisms. I'm like, okay, this is perfect. They're acting exactly how they should act.
Because I think
So I felt good about it.
you got to see, well, the bombing run was like the E3 demo, I
Yeah, that's what
think.
I saw the first time.
And then they
Mhm.
showed you, wasn't it like the reactor when it's the three of you, like Cloud, Tifa, and Barrett.
I don't know. I might have saw that. Oh, I think I played that later. That
Oh,
was like a
that was a
later
preview event
event.
later. Okay,
The
that's what
first
I'm
time I
remembering.
saw it was just the very beginning bombing
Okay,
run.
okay,
But yeah, that was later on with like Cloud and Tifa and Barrett and
yeah.
all that stuff.
I
Like they
remember
were
watching
mostly.
your video about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was later. But anyways, when I got the game, obviously I was lucky enough to play it early and stuff like that. And I remember when after the bombing run and all that stuff, you get to Sector 7 and the overworld themes playing
Oh,
from the
yeah.
game. And I looked up and I saw the upper plate going on there. And I was like, holy shit, dude. This game is real. I got like almost choked up for a second because I just like couldn't believe it. Like it was finally here. And it was just a really cool moment that I was happy to be there and feel that way about it.
Yeah, and it says so much about like everyone talks about like the power of like Final Fantasy music, right? And
Mhm.
it really says something that when that one track hits the right way, and you're just you're literally in Sector 7, that's like fully realized. You're seeing the plate above, like you said, and like that overworld theme kicks in. It's like, how is this game real? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like for those of us that it sounds like we were about the same age when we like discovered 7,
Mhm.
and it was really like the first one that dug its claws into me, at least, for sure, and it
Yeah.
sounds like you as well.
Yeah.
To just have that like full circle moment, and I feel like it's got to be a point of pride as well if you're like reviewing the game professionally. Like, that's got to be cool.
Yeah, that was really fun. I really felt good about it. It was really great to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really contribute to the game in a meaningful way. So yeah, I think my brother mentioned that was one of the moments for him, was when that overworld theme kicked in. He just like had to take a moment and
Yeah, you gotta take a second
and absorb what's happening. With I remember too, just like booting the game up for the first time and just hearing the prelude theme on like that clean menu. It's like, oh my god, like I'm ready.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah,
It-
it was wonderful.
It happened at a really interesting time too, because that was like what, April 2020, when that game actually launched, when the world was in turmoil.
Yes.
And it was just such like a comfort thing to just like ignore the chaos happening in the world for a few hours and just like absorb in this nostalgia trip. And for me, where I work, I had gotten laid off for like 8 weeks during that whole period. And it was pretty confident that I was getting, my job, I'd be coming back. So it was less of the anxiety of not knowing if I'd have a job, but knowing I had this like wide open window of like no work. It's 7 remake time, and I don't think I stopped playing that game for like a week until I platinumed it. Like, I just couldn't. I could not stop. I just couldn't put it down. So with and it's funny when you look back at coverage before the game came out, and it's like there's things like people getting worried about, oh, they're gonna take the cross-dressing scene out and things like that. And it's like, no, they're gonna take that scene and turn it all the way up. And it was just moments like that are just like, it's like and I know people have said it's just like a celebration of that game and everything. You know,
Yeah.
when you get those iconic shots like him looking up at the Shinra building with the sword on his back, and you know, there's
Yeah,
so
they
much.
give you that. They give you good fan service where you're
Yeah.
like, yes, this is for me. Yes.
Yeah. This is a love letter
Yeah.
directly,
Yeah.
directly for me. You know, and they did things like the way they kind of carried the spirit of like the whole like scoring system that was used to like determine who your date was at Golden Saucer. It's like they had
Mm-hmm.
a similar thing where the way you sort of, you know, your choices will depict what like dresses they have if you do more side quests or not. And then you get that one scene. I forget which chapter it is, but you get like one of the three characters. You have that scene outside of Aerith's house. Aerith's
Mm-hmm.
house. It's like, oh, and that all depends on how you do stuff. Like I always remembered who you talk to after you fall into the sewer. Like I remember that was like one of the points you would get like
Yeah, who
towards
you
that
talk to
person.
first. Yeah,
And so it's just really cool how they kept the spirit of that in those
Mhm.
other you know, things like the dresses and things like that.
Yeah.
And I absolutely have to say, watching your guys's spoiler mode you did for 7 Remake,
Mhm.
that enhanced subsequent playthroughs so much for me personally, because like, you know, that was one when you guys had Maximilian Dude on, who I've mentioned
Oh,
before in
right.
this podcast. I love his stuff.
Mhm.
And your guys' combined knowledge of FF7, it's like it unlocked so much for me personally, just like to play through it again and like have a better understanding of like what the whispers are, and you know, the ways that Sephiroth is, you know, basically trolling you the whole time.
Mhm.
And so I just love, you know, you guys use the word like being in like the zeitgeist of a game a lot. And like that was such a fun game to be in that when it was
Yeah,
all
it
being
was.
discussed. Because like I did my playthrough, I watched Max's playthrough, I watched Brianna White's playthrough, like the voice actor of Aerith. I
Mhm.
watched your spoiler mode, like I watched like any content. I was just like, give me more, please. I want to watch. I want to absorb more into this. So um, you know, in terms of games to be in at the ground floor on, I feel like that's got to be up there for you guys too, for
Yeah,
just being one of the
absolutely.
most fun sort of
Yeah, it
zeitgeist
was super fun.
situations.
It's funny, I remember when I was playing the game for review and I beat it, and I was like, "I love that." But then I was like, "Oh, wait. A lot of people are probably gonna hate this because
Sure.
it's just how, like, crazy it is."
At the end,
And
yeah.
I was honestly kinda surprised. I mean, obviously, some people didn't like it, but I was surprised how many people liked it
Yeah.
and kinda latched onto it. So I was like, "Oh, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
awesome."
I know what you mean. Yeah. Like you sometimes you get to a point in the game where like, I like this, but I don't know who else will. Like, am I the
Yeah.
weird one, you know, the odd one
Yeah.
out? And I think a lot of the discussion around it kind of just maybe help clearing up what it means. I think
Mhm.
contributed to a lot more people actually like accepting and enjoying, you know,
Yeah.
and getting
Definitely.
excited, right?
Yeah, I think, Max is a big probably person responsible for that.
For
I think a
sure.
lot of people look to him for that, so that was really cool.
Yeah, his knowledge of FF7 is like
Mhm.
encyclopedic, pretty much.
Yeah.
He's very, very. He understands that game very well.
Mhm.
Um, and so like there's that moment when you get near it's like once you get to that point of no return where you're going like up to, you know, you get the grappling hooks and you're heading up to the plate or whatever.
Right.
It's like I remember such dread knowing like, man, it's almost over. Like I know it's
Yeah.
almost over. um
Mhm.
you know that it did take longer than I expected, and you get some nice surprises,
Yeah.
like fighting Sephiroth in like a very Advent Children style,
Oh, yeah.
you know, fight. So there were
Mhm.
still lots of great surprises at the end, but I just remember getting to that near the end. I'm like, oh, I don't want it, because you know
Mhm.
it's like 3 or 4 years before the next part comes out, right?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so
Yeah, I remember being pleased playing through the game and being like, "Oh, this made it in," actually, kinda thing, like the elevator sequence or the stairs and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah, you're
I didn't
getting
know
giving you
what
the
they'd keep
choice.
in. Yeah, I was very happy they, like, had those in there and just kinda fleshed them all out a little more.
Yeah.
Because Midgar is pretty damn short in the original game,
Yeah, I when I
so
had So when I did the platinum run for the OG game, it was like post 7 remake, like I had done that after. And it's like I like forgot how short it was. It was like literally like I think it was like 3 hours maybe, and you're out of Midgar. And it's like funny when you look at like, you know, when you're climbing the pillar before it gets dropped, the plate gets dropped, and like Jesse has like 2 lines of dialogue. And like, oh well, she's dead, I guess. All right, moving on. Like it's like there's like no ceremony, right? Because they just don't have time to build that relationship with them. And then when that happens in remake, you can see, and like you can see it coming where it's like, oh, this is gonna hurt a lot more when these people die. So you know, it was another thing to dread, but they just did, you know, such a good job at expanding that part of Midgar, or that Midgar part of the game, into a full-fledged game, and just really made it hurt when that plate fell.
I like you know, you're just getting to know Avalanche a lot more, like Biggs and Wedge and Jesse, especially like when you go to her house where her mom and dad are and all that stuff. Yeah, I really liked all that.
Yeah, really good. Just expanding the characters and stuff. Just like, so I told myself when Rebirth got a date, I was like, okay, that will be my trigger to, I'm gonna replay 7 remake again. So I'm just like partway through it now, so that's why a lot of this stuff is a little more fresh in my head. And I just reunited with Aerith, like in the Shinra building.
Okay.
So I'm going to finish that off this weekend. But it's like I wanted to play it early enough that I'm not good at it when Rebirth comes out. I want to like I don't want to just like plow through, you know, that first, because that combat system is one where if you're good at it and you know how to use it, like you can steamroll enemies at lower levels or whatever. So it's like I want to be like not super good at the game when Rebirth comes out. So I was like, I give myself like 5 months. I can play it now, and then I'll be a little rusty. What else did I want to say about Remake? I mean, just what was? How did you feel when, like when you see Zach at the end? Like man, that threw me for a loop.
I was really surprised, like everyone, I suppose. You know, you're like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
I was like, I was just like, wait, is this like an alternate dimension or something like that? Because, you know, you see the chip bag and all that stuff with the different
right,
on it, whatever his name was again.
Stamps,
yeah. And all that stuff. And like I said, at the time I was in a vacuum, so I couldn't like
oh my God.
anyone.
Yeah.
I couldn't like talk about it with anyone, so I was just like, what the fuck's going on? So I was sitting there for like a week just waiting for people to like a week or two to like get to that part and start figuring stuff out.
Yeah.
But I was pleased because I like Zach a lot. So
yeah.
And I was always kind of open to letting them do just kind of whatever they want to do.
For sure.
I was never one of those people that thought the game needed to be 1-to-1.
No.
Like I'm fine with they just want to do with whatever. So as long as it was interesting to me, I was like, yeah, just let it ride.
And I feel like by that point in the game, it's like they've done so much fan service for me by that point. It's like, yeah, like I will buy whatever you're selling. Like just bring it on at that
pretty
point,
much,
right?
Yeah.
They've kind of like proven themselves by that point in the game to know that so much love and care was obviously put into rebuilding this game in such a cool way. So yeah, that was, and I had actually never played Crisis Core. I had borrowed, because I never had a PSP really, so I had like played it on my friends or whatever. But like I think I had watched the cutscenes at some point online, so I knew the general story. So then when Reunion came out last December, I actually got to like go through the whole game and experience that, which was fun because you got to see like updated, you know, like Nibelheim assets essentially. You know,
I was like, oh, these are remake assets they're gonna use.
Yeah, so I get a little teaser there for sure. My brother and I were excited about that, even though they didn't redo the dialogue, but that's fine. that game has some jank, but it's part of the charm, I guess.
Yeah.
So when it comes, I mean, we can talk a little bit about Rebirth.
Okay.
So obviously, like with all the TGS footage coming out and all the impressions and everything, I saw your video you did on it. And I've watched Max's, his
Mm-hmm.
analysis of everything. I feel like, and I know you guys have echoed this at EZA, I feel like it's the perfect thing to point to when addressing people's complaints about the people that were originally complaining about the game being multi-part. Is like,
Mm-hmm.
there's no way this game could exist as it seems to, like Rebirth, if they tried to do everything in one game.
No.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
There's no way.
It's
Yeah.
just like, to me, it's like, and the sentiment that I was saying that, I know you guys echo is like, all it means is I get to enjoy Final Fantasy VII for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just one 40-hour game and then I'm done, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I love the fact that it's multi-part because yes, give me like 8 years of this, please. Like, I will
Yeah.
gladly play all of these parts.
Yeah. Flesh it out, expand everything. It's all great to me. I
Yeah.
mean, because they said Rebirth's gonna be like 100 hours if you do everything, and like
Yep.
that's for one part. And like the
Yeah.
original game is like nowhere near that length.
No. I I think when I did like my platinum run, just getting to like the end, it still only took, with doing a lot of the extra stuff for trophies, I feel like it only took me like 30 hours
Yeah,
or
if you know what you're
something.
doing, you can get through it pretty quickly.
Yeah. And just like the scope of this game, what it seems to be turning into, there's just
Mhm.
no way, if this is one game, there's no way
No, there's no
it,
way, yeah.
it would exist in this form,
No.
right? Um, the biggest question about Rebirth, though,
Mhm.
is will we see Red 13 in a sailor suit?
I think so. I think so because we see Red 13 riding a chocobo,
Yeah, in a
which looked
very
extremely in a very goofy manner, so I feel like yes, I feel like he will be wearing the sailor suit.
So yes is the correct answer for sure.
Yes.
And bonus points, it will absolutely be a mini game to teach him how to walk. That's my
Yeah,
prediction.
that would be good. That would be good.
if
I'd
they
be into that.
if they can take Hell House and turn it into like an epic chapter boss,
Mhm.
and do what they did with like the Honeybee Inn, they're making him walk in a sailor suit, and you're gonna have to teach him how to do
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait.
So I guess I originally was gonna say like we can leave most of your Rebirth coverage for Easy Ally stuff, but if you're okay talking about some of it,
Oh, yeah,
uh,
sure.
just so I know you did some impressions on, like, you got to play that demo outside of Junon. I think
Yep.
that's the one that you got. That was like the TGS
I played that one, yeah.
build.
Mhm.
And some really cool things that like I noticed just watching some of that footage is like, and you can tell like so much attention to detail is put in here, where it's like I noticed like when you're in like the Chocobo farm, for example, or I guess that wasn't. No, I'm thinking of the other footage.
There's a chocobo like area though in that spot too. It's
Okay,
not the one with like Chocobilly, but
okay. And what I noticed is when it's like when you get out of those like smaller like kind of like village or town type areas,
mhm.
it literally looks like even like the camera pulls out a little farther when you're out in like the
Mhm.
open world.
Mhm.
And that I love little details like that just like they can tell, having the camera like too tight on Cloud or whatever, when you're in this big, like they know you're gonna want to like spin that camera around and look for all that
Right.
stuff. But so the demo, I think the demo you got to do was the like tutorial chapter essentially, which is like the flashback, right? That was like
Mhm.
part of it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And yeah, tell me a little bit about. I know I've heard it, but for any viewers that haven't watched your video, uh, playing a Sephiroth, man, that's got to be a dream.
Oh yeah, he felt so good. Like obviously playing as, I mean, there's spoilers, so you're playing as Cloud, but you're actually playing as Zack. One thing I liked about that, I didn't say this in the preview because I know some people are playing these games for the first time, so I didn't
Sure.
like want to spoil that, but it was really cool. I noticed right off the bat is Cloud and Sephiroth talking these cutscenes and Cloud's mannerisms and how he's
Yeah.
speaking, and it's like, well, if you know that's absolutely Zack,
Yes.
because like Cloud does not act like that at all.
I
And
saw
it
like
was like,
it was like 1 second of footage of him talking, and he was all like happy
yeah,
and like, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
like that's so smart to like just
yeah,
animate him that way.
yeah, it was
Uh,
great. But playing, yeah, with Sephiroth was so sick. He had some really fun moves. He felt really powerful, which is important. I think like
yes.
that. He felt like a league ahead of what you're playing as Cloud at that point. And just doing some of like the moves together where they do like their dual tech stuff almost. I was just like, yeah, this is all great. This is all good. Yes, keep it going.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in Sephiroth in the original game, when you fight with him, that flashback, it's just like one fight and you don't really do anything. He just kind of like one shots or two shots like that. That's about it.
Yeah. And you can't control him. He does his own moves.
You can't control him. Getting to actually move around as him and feel him and all that stuff is really great.
Yeah. And just like the like the dual techs just in general have me so excited for Rebirth's combat, because it's like just a perfect evolution of remake combat, because like you know, just to add that extra layer in there, right? And you know, this info has come out, obviously, so spoilers for anyone that doesn't want to know Rebirth details, but like I know it's come out that like Sid and Vincent won't be playable. They'll be kind of like the way Red 13 was implemented. And like at first that like stung a little bit. Like, oh, that would have been nice, I guess. But the more I think about it, like, number one, like, I know we've played as Yuffie, but we're going to have her implemented with the rest of the party, with all the techs and stuff. Now I know I was about to say this, but I know you're a Cat She camp person. I'm a Kate Sith person.
Oh, actually, I'm not in either. I don't know what it is.
Okay, I
have no idea. It could be either. I don't care what it is. I just want to know what it is.
Yeah. I just want someone to say his name.
Kate Sith, Cat She, like whatever.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. I know I've heard some of the people at Easy Allies have referred to him as Cat She, and the first time I heard it, I'm like, wait, what? Because I had never heard that before. I heard one of you guys say it, and then I looked into it, like, oh, this is like a big debate about how to say his name. So yeah, we'll finally get our answer once they say his name. But you know, adding Yuffie to the party, adding Kate Sith, and Red 13 being playable, and then adding the layer with all these, you know, synergy attacks and stuff like that. It's like, I think that will make the sting like hurt less not getting those final two party members, because you know,
I think so too. I mean, when I see Sid and Vincent, I'm gonna be like, duh, I want to play as them. But I know there's always the next game. Like, you gotta save something for the next game, I guess.
Yeah, and that only means they'll have more time to like polish the way they're gonna play, to feel, because that's the thing that really impressed me. Like when we got to the Yuffie DLC for Remake, is like, you know, you start playing as Cloud in Remake and you're like, oh, like I'm only ever going to play as Cloud because he's clearly the coolest and he's got the coolest moves. And then you start fighting aerial enemies and you're like, okay, Barrett's pretty good at dealing with this stuff. And I actually don't mind. I like the feeling of his like triangle ability, like the multi-shot and like the big shot at the end. You know, and then like switching to him to like set up one of his shots and then switching back to Cloud to like go in. And you're like, okay, like Barrett's pretty fun too. Like I actually enjoy playing him. Then you get, you know, then you also get Tifa. And you're like, oh, well, I'm only ever playing as Tifa now because she's the best. And then Yuffie comes on. I'm like, oh, Yuffie's pretty sick too. Like I had no idea how they're gonna like evolve it even further, right? And that's even like ignoring the Sonon synergy stuff. Like just her by herself. And the way they kind of changed like throw materia into just Yuffie's like base move, and it's because like I think throw was, God, don't know if I'm remembering correctly. Was throw in 7 where you just threw your like an item?
Did that exist? You mean?
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
I know there was throw materia, but I can't remember what you threw. Anyway, it's like an ability I almost never use whenever that is an option. And to turn it into like her base mechanic, how she changes between like her ninjutsu spells, and you know, it's just like, how do they keep finding really interesting ways to like make these new characters just feel
really different?
And it sounds like, you know, watching your full impressions, like even though you get to play Sephiroth for like, how long is that tutorial? Like an hour or something? Like it's not super long.
When I played, it was like 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Right. And it's like, even though they know you're only going to play that part with him for such a short time, it's like they still made sure to give him like, he's got like a teleport move or whatever, and his
Mm-hmm.
own his whole entire move set,
Mm-hmm.
which is just like, so it's
He
like,
has his own limit break too. I'm pretty sure.
oh really?
I think he does Octo Slash, if I recall.
Of course, yeah, he's got to have that.
Yeah.
If that wasn't a normal move, I'd be disappointed if it wasn't a limit break. So yeah, it kind of takes the sting out of like the Vincent and Sid not being playable, because they're gonna make those characters play hella fun, and with all the layers they're adding to Rebirth, I think I got my hands full already. Like
yeah. I agree.
And they've done nothing if not proved. I used to say like 7 Remake will walk so that 7 Rebirth can run. And after watching like the scale and density of what Rebirth is shaping up to be, it's become more Remake can walk so that Rebirth can take off in a jet engine. Essentially. Like it's such a leap.
I've been
Remake.
surprised about how big of a leap it's kind of been. I didn't expect it to be like as open as it has been.
Yeah. I guess
from what I've heard, it's more like just normal open world kind of thing almost.
Yeah.
Like there's still zones, but you can just seamlessly go between them, I think, or something like that.
That's what it
I'm not
seems
exactly
like.
Sure.
Yeah, we won't know, obviously.
I pictured more like Final Fantasy 16 at the time.
Same.
When I was thinking about it, but seems like it might be even more open, which is impressive.
Yeah, and it's like, if from what I've seen, and we'll obviously know this when the game comes out, but it's like the scale. So my problem with like open world games where it's just one big map, and I've talked about this before, but it's like it makes the world sometimes feel smaller, because if we look at a game like Breath of the Wild, for example, if you started at the most southern point of the map and just walked north until you get to the top part of the map, let's say you're just walking in game, real life time, that's like, probably like 30 minutes, maybe it would take you to walk. I don't know how long it would actually take, but let's call it 30 minutes. It doesn't make a lot of sense that you're in like a desert and then you walk 30 minutes north and you're in like the Arctic kind of thing, right? So it's like big open worlds that are a one big seamless thing can sometimes feel like they're actually smaller than they are, because, it just makes more sense to put them in a game that way so that you're not traveling for hours on foot. But everything I've seen with Rebirth, where if they do sort of space it out enough, because I feel like you'll just get like big chunks of the game, even though they're not necessary, because like you go from like Junon to Costa del Sol, obviously there's like a slight disconnect for how far it is to get there, when you take the boat or whatever.
Right.
And so I feel like if they're just big enough chunks, but still sort of segmented a little bit, that will sort of hide that problem of having a world feel smaller because it's all open. So I definitely thought it was going to be like 16 zones as well. But the way I'm seeing it shape out, I'm like, again, you've proven to me with Remake, like I'm good for whatever you want to do with this game. So I have no reason, not to trust them.
Yeah, same.
And then I saw, which I didn't actually catch on, I don't know where I saw this otherwise, but when I was watching your, one of the cool things where they just shift stuff around is like, I think it was like Yuffie is the one that like when you like run into that dolphin under Junon, it's like Yuffie that's there. And I was curious because I was just curious how you're going to run into Yuffie in this one, because it's not just a random battle or whatever.
Right? I'm going to assume you're going to run into her very early in the game. She's going to steal all your materia and all your stuff. So that's going to be
like reset excuse. You.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm assuming it'll be, but maybe not. Maybe they just won't even do anything.
Well, I mean, that would be a good, because like we know the levels are resetting essentially, and it's like its own game, right? So like that would be a fun way to do that. And then if that's how you like find her again, and it's like, that'd be a fun character moment to be like, how do they? It's like they're obviously good to save her because they're not, you know, monsters, but it's like to see her sort of backpedal out of that, that
situation.
That situation, that would be really cool.
Especially with no Wutai really in this part.
Right. Yeah, that's one thing they've confirmed too. Yeah. Although we did get that one shot in the TGS presentation.
It was confusing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was confused about that.
Yeah.
Like, is this Wutai or?
I've read that it might be part of like a Zack timeline situation because it looks sort of like that area in Crisis Core.
Yeah, it could be.
You know, but I mean, we're at that point now in the pre-launch marketing buzz where all the crazy theories are surfacing.
Coming out, yep.
Yeah. So I'm all for that stuff. I know you guys have done like you guys did I forget what you called it. It was like big brain rebirth predictions or whatever.
Yeah, big brain.
I don't know if you guys are planning on doing another one of those before the game is out. But
yeah, we would like to talk to Max. We've talked to him. We just gotta figure out when he can do it, kind of thing like that.
Yeah,
so
you guys are all very busy. I'm
probably always, more in the future.
I'm definitely, when I see those videos pop up, it's like instant click for me.
Yeah.
I just love hearing all the theories. Those are always really fun.
Yeah, he's down, we're down. We just gotta stars just gotta align when we can do it.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Yeah. And you know, we saw lots of like the mini game stuff in that TGS presentation, and it's just like it's similar to like people worrying about the cross-dressing mission being taken out and then them just going all in on it. Because I know another concern has been like, well, there's no way they're doing all these like these dumb mini games or whatever. Like, how can you? And it's like, no, here's all of those, and then here's a card game and a piano rhythm game and whatever
there's a lot.
Whatever that Mog House thing was, where Cloud's running around with he had like a pom pom on his head, like it was like, what am I looking at?
Because that was a mini game in Gold Saucer or whatever that game.
It's like a dating
it's like out in the Forest thing now. Actually, I was surprised.
Yeah, it was like a dating sim Golden Saucer game.
Yeah, I hope they have the snowboarding game, but I feel like they're gonna save that for part 3. Sadly.
Sure. Yeah. If we don't end up going that far north, which we probably won't, based on where they said it's going to end. I know Max had said on one of his analysis videos where, because I think it was Nomura's tweets were very cryptic about like it's ending at the, what do they call it? I always
Forgotten
call
City.
Forgotten City. That's right. It's like ending there, but like the order of stuff is going to shift around.
Yeah.
So
things
I know
won't play out in the same order.
Right. And so I know one point he made, which will be interesting to see if they reveal any marketing, is like, if we see Aerith in the snow at all, then we know that the Forgotten City got pushed, further out or something. But, like I said, we're in the era of crazy fan theories at this point until they give us another trailer. So, I'm always down to speculate on that kind of stuff. So the Junon section, I know you've talked about it a little bit, but just like because I think, was it Katase, I think, that said that he really loves Horizon.
That's the director. What's his last name? Yamaguchi, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I knew it was him.
I knew it was one of them that had mentioned that. And it's like, it's very clear, I feel like, the Horizon sort of influence that we see in whatever in the footage we've seen of those big open areas. So that'll be really fun to see how that plays out. But
it's Hamaguchi. Sorry, not Yamaguchi.
Hamaguchi. That sounds right. Yes, that sounds right. So yeah, I mean, I love Horizon as well, so I'm down to.
Oh sure, yeah.
Play Horizon with a Buster Sword.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If I get to explore, just the region and all that stuff.
Yeah.
With chocobos, then yes, please. And the tiny Bronco and all that stuff will be fun.
Oh yeah, they did confirm that's going to be in Rebirth, right? I guess it makes sense for where we're going. We need it.
Yeah. No high wind. That'll probably be the next one.
Yeah. And we haven't seen anything of Dine yet, which I'm really curious to see.
We've not seen any of that.
How he looks, and that was, I feel like, like that storyline, like that story, arc in OG7, I feel like was pretty fast. Like, it's not a very long sequence, and I really want to see that like played out more, because I feel like Barrett's backstory is like pretty tragic for what he's had to deal with, and that's one of those things where if they do what they've done with Remake and just expand. Like that's one that I really want to see the first like dying shot to see like what his character, because you don't see him in really any like official art. I think you only know him by his like in-game model essentially.
Yeah, how they interpret him now. Yeah, absolutely.
And just I don't know if there's any other. I know you guys have talked about it at length, but I'm curious actually where you think Roche will pop up again.
Oh, Roche, that's funny.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's at Junon or something like that in the parade. Like I could see him being there.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think he's just gonna kind of pop up occasionally throughout the game. Seems like he's hunting Cloud specifically now, I guess. So I don't know. He could show up anywhere. Maybe Coast of the Soul, he'll show up or something.
Yeah, he'll crash your party.
Yeah. That makes me wonder about Sonon too. Will he'll show up in his whole storyline?
Didn't he die?
He got taken away by
Nero or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know if he's necessarily dead, so I wouldn't be surprised if they tie that in some way, or any of the deep ground stuff with Yuffie.
Yeah, that I don't know how I feel about that, but again, they've done nothing but made me trust them.
Yeah, I'll say in Dirge of Cerberus, they feel more out of nowhere.
Sure.
I would rather them slowly plant seeds of them, I guess, existing.
That's true, because where in like the timeline does Dirge of Cerberus take place? I had never played it. It's
after Advent Children.
Oh, so it's way down the line.
It's like it's like a year or two after Advent Children.
Okay. I know you had played that through not that long ago, and your advice was to not do it.
Yeah, you don't need to play it. It's okay. Yeah. You can just watch a cutscene of it if you really want.
Yeah. But yeah, it would be better if they obviously plant seeds throughout.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see how that. I mean, the theories are nonstop. I don't know if there's any other highlights you want to talk about with Remake, because we did go over it a little quick, but one of the ones that I skipped accidentally is so in replaying it, like, so between my brother and I, he is Team Tifa and I'm Team Aerith, and that's how we've always been. And right down to where you have that sequence with her after you leave the church, where you're kind of forced into like a walking speed and you're just like going along the rooftops and stuff like that. I love that so much, because it's like that could have just been a cutscene of them having this like talk back and forth, but I feel like making you go through the motion of doing it, it just really helped like endear Aerith to you, by making you like be an active participant in it. So I don't know if there's any other like highlights about 7 Remake that you want to dive into, but we kind of covered the main ones that I thought of when I was replaying it recently.
I really had fun at the Underground Arena in Wall Market.
Yep.
And I also really liked the VR challenges with Chadley and all that stuff. I thought that was really fun.
Yeah.
To get to fight like some of the summons and stuff like that.
Am I crazy, or there's a Bahamut fight in Remake, right? Yes. Is that only in hard mode?
VR? Yeah, the VR stuff, yeah.
That's why. I'm like pretty far in the game. I'm like, I feel like I should have fought Bahamut by now.
Yeah, I think it's only in there.
Because I think you get that extra VR mission in the Shinra Tower, like up by Aerith's room, but that must only be there in hard mode. Did you ever do the Weiss? Is that how you say his name?
I fought some of them, yeah. I've been saving him for the next time I go back. Okay. He's my carrot on a stick kind of thing.
Sure.
So next time I play through the game, then I'll do that.
Do that fight. It was definitely one I had to like just read, like, how do I do this? Like, you're doing damage and it like just doesn't feel like you're making any progress, and he's got like different phases. So they
got some tough fights.
Yeah. So I had to do like a little research to like understand what I'm supposed to do, and then it was just executing it was equally as hard. But man, when that battle system like really clicks, and when you really just like get the rhythm down, like I want every JRPG to just use this fight system. Just like switching, queuing up ATB moves, switching characters, back and forth. Like, God, when it's all hitting and you got like the like 7 battle like boss music playing, like it's just like, man, nothing hits like that game does when its combat is like fully in motion, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's so we'll move on here. I know one thing you guys do over at Easy Allies, you do a lot of love and respect segments at the end of your
Mm-hmm.
podcast with patrons writing in and giving you guys trivia and games, stuff like that. So in order to make you feel a little more at home, I came up with one myself for you to do. And I'll jump in if you need help because I'm putting you on a spot a little bit. But I thought this would be fun with the Rebirth hype on the horizon. So, you are a combat designer for Rebirth. Okay, you're working on this game, one of the lead combat designers.
Mm-hmm.
What I'd like for you to do is, and I'm pretty sure you will not have seen these in what you saw of the game. I'm going to give you some character pairings that I kind of randomly put together. And I just want you to give me a just very basic idea of what you would like to see as a synergy attack with these two characters.
Okay.
And like I said, I'm pretty sure you would not have seen these pairings with what you saw of the preview stuff. So I'll just throw some names out at you, and whatever first comes to your head that you'd like to see, we'll do that. So my first pairing I have is Tifa and Yuffie.
Tifa and Yuffie. Let's see. I would like Tifa to like throw Yuffie in the air.
Okay.
Yuffie throws her
or ninja star thing, yeah.
Then maybe like Tifa punches them in the face and Yuffie like stomps on their head. They do that at the same time, maybe.
Okay.
Something like that.
I like it. Yeah. Well, there's no rules. There's no wrong answers on these. Next pairing I have is, now I know we won't get to do this one, but I'm still throwing it out there. Barrett and Vincent.
Oh, Barrett and Vincent.
Yeah.
They both just kind of need to unload all of their guns. Like Barrett needs to just like go crazy. Vincent needs to like pull out multiple different guns, like his like shotgun too and all that stuff. Yeah. I'm thinking of like just like heavy arms from Gundam Wing, just like shooting out a million things, like a wall of bullets. I need to see both of them do that.
Okay, I like that. I forgot that he has like different style of guns, Vincent. So yeah, pull out pistol, shotgun, whatever. Yeah. Okay,
maybe
I like
turn
that
into a monster, his chainsaw one or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, like to finish off. Yeah. Okay. Or Barrett gives him a grenade. And he runs in with the grenade in his mouth in his beast form.
Blows up. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
That'd be cool.
That works. Okay. So this is another one we won't see, but I'd still be curious. Sid and Red 13.
Sid and Red 13. I want Sid to like stand on top of Red 13 and ride along with him.
Okay.
Then launch Red 13 in the air or do like a Dragoon jump with Red 13.
Yep.
And I want Red 13 like holding Sid's spear in his mouth when they like land or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Or like Sid does the Dragoon jump and like throws the spear, and then like Red 13 comes in and rips it out.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It, yeah. After it stabs him. Yeah.
Okay. I like where that's going. Kate Sith and Cloud. I don't know what this one would be.
I want Kate Sith to make Cloud like try to do a dance or something, or coordinated attack like some Power Rangers thing. Cloud is just very embarrassed by it.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
He does like a Power Rangers pose and Cloud's just not having
something
it.
like that. Yeah. Yelling through the megaphone or something like that.
Okay. I like that too. That I would not, when I picked that pairing out, I was like, I don't even know what this one would be, but I like your idea. Tifa and Sid.
Tifa and Sid. That's a tough one for me, actually. What would I want? I mean, it's hard for me not to think of just Vincent just jumping with something, I guess. Maybe like, so they both go in attacking wise, and Sid like hands her the spear. They kind of do attacks and throw it back to each other as they're doing attacks and stuff like that.
Yeah, because her monk abilities.
Yeah,
she can handle that. Yeah. And even like to cap it off, when she's doing a move, he jumps and she alley-oops the spear and he comes back down.
Yeah, or he'll like throw her up in the air with it or something.
Yeah. Because I 100% agree it has to be a Dragoon jump of some kind. That just got it. That's a rule.
It's got to be.
I agree. Yeah. I got just 3 more. Vincent and Red 13.
Vincent Red 13. I guess this would be the one where Vincent would go really primal in his monster forms.
Sure, yeah. That would actually
and they just do
make
like
more
a
sense.
frenzy rush, I guess.
Yeah. Just both beast mode.
Yeah, both like he turns like his werewolf form or whatever too.
Ooh, yes.
Both like Howler in the moon or something.
Oh, yeah.
Something
yeah,
like
that's
that.
the finishing shot is looking up at the moon and they're both, they're both howling. Yeah, you nailed it. That's the winner. Now here's one that I hope we would get to see. Cloud and Zack.
Cloud and Zack. Oh boy.
Yeah.
What would that be with those two? That's hard to say.
Yeah.
Well, of course, Zack would have to be much more cocky and confident about everything. Like him, I guess him maybe leading through Cloud through the entire kind of attack.
Okay.
Like keep up with me, follow me on this kind of thing.
Sure.
1, 2, stuff like that, I guess.
And calling it out, yeah.
Yeah, calling the shots essentially with it.
And I would almost think like, because he has a move, I don't know where I've seen this move, where it's almost like cross slash, but it's not. It's like a different symbol. And so it could end up with them doing like on either side flanking and them doing like cross slash and whatever his is called. I forget.
Whatever and it ends with them both doing squats or something.
That's the winner. Yeah, the signature soldier squats. Yeah. So this last one is kind of a bonus. So Cloud and any other Final Fantasy character dream crossover.
Oh, anyone?
Yeah. Doesn't have to be 7. Just anything you'd want to see.
That's a tough one. I mean, it'd be hard for me not to do Cloud and Clive now, I guess.
Ooh, I didn't even think about that one. Yeah.
Like Cloud doing Omni Slash, and while he's doing that, Clive turns into Ifrit and does like Hellfire or something.
Yeah. What's the move that like I'm pretty sure it's just a beam that he shoots that like interrupts that Clive does. I forget what the move. I think he gets it from Bahamut or something, but just ends with like turning into Ifrit and doing a giant beam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Okay. You've passed. You passed the audition for the combat designer. Let's see. Now we'll see if I see any of those happen in this game at some point. I will DM you and I'll say good job. Cool. So I appreciate you putting on your creative hat for that one. I don't have much else to talk about. It was really just I wanted to just touch base about some Final Fantasy 7 hype and let people know I don't know if you can't tell me this, that's fine. Do you know if you're going to be reviewing Rebirth or is that
it'll probably be me.
So we'll definitely look forward. I can't wait to hear your thoughts when that review goes live. I'll probably listen to it and not watch it just for spoiler reasons,
You can see on our website, we have all of our reviews in text form. So if you're worried about that, you can just read it.
I mean, I got to hear Brandon Jones' voice, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's the legend. So
So I'll just listen to it and I'll turn the video off.
We definitely try our best to show early parts of the game.
Yeah, you guys do. Yeah. I
know.
Go ahead.
It's tough because, it's like a video review, so you're going to see some things. If you're super cautious, I would say just listen to it then.
Yeah.
But we try to keep it very early, what we show.
Yeah, you guys, I don't remember a situation where you guys have let something slip in a review.
Yeah.
That was spoiler heavy. But I am definitely like a outlier. I'm probably like Huber levels of media blackout when a game like that comes out kind of thing. So I did that for 16. I think I didn't watch the last like 2 trailers just because like I was at a point where I was like, I'm already bought this game. I don't want to see anything else until I'm playing it. Right.
Totally.
So I know I'm an outlier for that. So I'm sure people will look forward to hearing that. Also look forward to, like I mentioned earlier, the eventual big brain discussions and spoiler modes. That if you guys do more of that with Max, those are always super, super fun. I'll probably link that one in the video for the one you guys did for 7 Remake, because I really genuinely encourage anyone, especially if you're going to replay Remake before Rebirth comes out, I really recommend people listen to that to really, because it really unlocked like my second playthrough like potential for just enjoying the game, right? So yeah, I'll link that down below. So with that, Brad, you know, where, if you want to let people know, where can everyone find you? I know I mentioned you're part of Easy Allies, so you give your plug.
So we're on YouTube, youtube.com/Easy Allies. That's where pretty much all of our content lives, because most of it is video content. We do have a website, easyallies.com. We post all of our stuff through there. You can see our weekly schedules, our reviews are up there, and in text form if you want to read the text, or you just want to organize by score, all that good stuff. We're on Twitch also with Easy Allies.
Stream almost every day, I think.
Pretty frequently, Yep. And I'm on Twitter if you want to follow me, or Instagram. Twitter is Bradley Ellis 87, and Instagram is just Bradley Ellis. Okay. So if you want to see me on there, that's where I'm at.
Cool. And I'll put all that stuff in the description so anyone can find you. Brad, it's been an absolute pleasure, dude. I really appreciate you coming on. Like I said, Frame Trap and Easy Allies podcast is like a big reason why I started doing this with my brother in the first place. So it was a real, it was one of my dream interviews for sure, was you and FF7.
Wow.
So
what an honor.
I really appreciate you coming on and giving
no problem, man. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Right on. Thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And be sure to check out some of Brad's content, especially if you're an FF7 fan. You got lots to watch. So we'll keep the hype train going until Rebirth. And then we'll be right back in that zeitgeist, Brad. I can't wait.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone.